The build.
Well, the build is a Lacerate Damage over time. Of course, the main skill is Lacerate, that uses poison damage and bleeding damage from the passive skill tree. So, it has a decent range, as you can see, so enemies will have to move toward you while being punctured, bleeding, therefore they're gonna take a lot of damage, and they're gonna take even more damage from all the successive strikes they will receive while moving toward you. To support yourself, you can throw down an Ancestral Protector, and when you are ready, your Blender McCoy, meaning a Val Double Strike, to further increase the amount of damage you deal to bosses or huge packs that will explode thanks to Gratuitous Violence, the passive not ancestral, not what's it called? Ascendancy classes. Gratuitous Violence, that of course gives 30% damage against bleeding enemies, increased damage against bleeding enemies, and they explode when they die, dealing 10% of the maximum life as physical damage. So this, in a nutshell, is the build. Now let's go into details.
Gems.
Alright, here is the main skills. Of course I start with it. Lacerate. This is a level 19, already leveled myself. Will have a 28% decreased arrow effect. Well, of course has 25% less, it's not decreased, it's less attack speed. So it's significant the amount of attack speed you're gonna lose. So multi-strike, of course, because you wanna attack very fast, and that will grant you multiple strikes against multiple enemies with increased damage thanks to the poison. Then melee physical damage, because it is a more and an increased as well physical damage. Faster attack support, because the faster you attack, the better. Increased damage with poison, of course poison support, because even though you have a chance to poison enemies, I'd rather have this because it also gives you increased damage with poison. And fortify, because you're gonna take damage and you want that damage to be as mitigated as possible. Then for support we have Ancestral Protector with melee splash, faster attacks, and added cold damage support. And for your Blender McCoy you have a Val Double Strike with melee splash, melee physical damage, and multi-strike. If you have a 5-link Condos Pride, you're gonna put in, well actually with a 6-link would be awesome, because you can put in a Bloodlust and poison. Why Bloodlust? Because you, with your main skill, are gonna make them bleed. Bloodlust deal, in this case, 40% more melee physical damage against bleeding enemies, and that is a phenomenal buff. It's massive, it's really huge. Alright, other skills we have here: Immortal Call, of course linked with custom damage taken support and increased duration. Also with Molten Shell. So when I take, in this case, 725 damage, I have 5000. Molten Shell and Immortal Call will be triggered. That will grant me Immortal Call 0.66 seconds of physical invulnerability. It seems very little, but is a lot when you know you can leech almost half your life in that time. So yeah, it is considerable. What we have here, we have further attack support with Lip Slam to, in case you have to jump thing and you wanna do it quick, or move out of the way of some stronger attacks.
My spirit is spent.
Alright. Then we have the Flame Golem for the increased damage. Vulnerability with the Blasphemy support. This can be avoided if you have, if you're lucky enough to actually corrupt a pair of globes that allows you to cast vulnerability on hit. So far I haven't been so lucky, You can purchase one for a ton of money. But that's not my case because, as I said, and I will repeat all the time, I am not a rich player. I'm not doing builds to showcase my wealth or to say, oh look how cool I am. I am rich. Well, that's not my case. And probably not yours as well. So, hatred, because of the extra physical damage as called. If you manage to actually be lucky enough to put cast vulnerability on hit, you can then change that for other, the reserved mana, for other defensive, sorry, Tuduku Kirin, for other offensive or even defensive skills. Then, well, that's it, we finished the skill gems. Alright, gear. The most important thing, well, not the most important thing, but it's a very important thing. Let's start from the obvious. The Kondo's Pride. Why this? Because it deals a considerable amount of physical damage. 0.6% of physical damage is Lich's life, and you need that. 50% increased melee damage against bleeding enemies. Increased melee damage against bleeding enemies. Enemies will almost always bleed, and thanks to the passive skill tree. And therefore you can count that as a permanent 50% increased damage against bleeding enemies. Calculate from critical strike, it doesn't matter because you're gonna deal like 5% chance of critical strike. 30% chance to blind enemies on the critical strike chance. This is negligible because it's you're gonna strike so critical strike so seldomly that you can just not count, and cause bleeding on a melee critical strike as well. Now it seems like an odd choice, but the damage from the second hit is really good because of the 50% increased melee damage against bleeding enemies. Then had see, 8% increased explosive arrows radius. Good, huh? Of course I can't be lucky and actually get something good out of it. Well, anyway, strength, increase the modern evasion, 80 life, cold resistance, light resistance, stun block recovery, and reflect 1 damage to melee attackers. Amulet. Strength, dexterity, intelligence. That intelligence is important because you can use gems that requires intelligence. Accuracy, which never hurts. Maximum life, maximum energy shield, and adds 4 to 7 physical damage to attacks. Rings. Maximum life, 98 maximum life, some intelligence, as I told you you need it. Maximum mana, maximum energy shield, and some lightning resistance. The other ring here, it has a very low life value, but it adds physical damage. It has a very good cold and resistance. Well, not very good, but it is something. 26% to fire resistance, and another 25 is intelligence. Intelligence is gonna be a bloody problem, unfortunately, for you. Now here I corrupted with a 3% chaos resistance. That was my intention. Of course I wanted curse enemies on hit with the vulnerability. Then a 6% increased attack speed, 89 life, some accuracy, 26%, 20% fire resistance, like 60% armor. Boots. I got the new two-tone boots upon the manual league. So I got a total of 49% cold resistance and 30% fire resistance, 30% increased movement speed, which is the maximum, and a crafted 59 maximum life. Belty. You got 101 life, 28 strength, which is still life, something life, 1 maximum energy shield, 36% lightning resistance, and 19% to fire resistance. This is the gear I have so far. Now talking about flask, of course you always want the, at least I want the Quicksilver flask on here with immunity to freeze. I choose immunity to freeze on a silver flask because Quicksilver flask because it will last for the whole period. And I got an onslaught with bleeding, removes bleeding on it. once again, it will constantly for 6 seconds you'll be immune to bleed. Then the 2 protective flask here, 3000 armor and 21% 3000 armor and 69% increased armor during flask effect, and this against poison. 20% additional physical damage reduction and 20% melee physical damage taken reflected to attackers. These two combines, you get normally now you are around 39%. If you pop these two bottles here, you get to 83% physical damage reduction for a considerable amount of time. Of course, it's 4.7 seconds for the granite flask, but those 4.7 seconds with a high attack speed is a lot. Okay, we talked about the gear. Now let's move on.
Passive skill tree.
Passive skill tree. Of course, you want to start as a duelist and then go to the gladiator ascendancy. Okay, very important thing: attack speed, life, and life leech. So you get this one here because you also get some accuracy. You start getting any physical attack damage, armor, evasion, and life that combined with iron reflexes will double dip the armor and reflection from your gear. Melee damage, master of the arena for the regeneration, and of course physical damage and strength. Strength is life and physical damage, melee physical damage. Life, bravery, and life. This one is let's say very important because it gives you attack speed, accuracy, ignoring movement penalties from armor, and 20 dexterity. Now the two-handed melee damage, destroyer, because it gives you physical damage and attack speed with two-handed weapons. Now this is enough when you reach high level, because it says attack damage and not physical damage, but in this case you're doing a considerable amount of physical damage, so it's still physical damage still do something for the life leech. Sorry, for the mana leech. And then you want to get all these life leech points here, because most of your survivability are thanks to your capability of life leeching, and the life leech per second is very important. Then of course your damage over time. So you wanna go for armor and armor and elemental resistances. Once again, life. I got this jewel here: increased damage over time, increased physical damage to end melee weapons, and 7% increased maximum life. This is probably the best jewel I've ever rolled. Alright, you go here for the physical damage over time, which is of course the bleed. Chance to cause bleeding 8%, 30% physical damage over time, and this is very important: 25% decreased attack damage against melee bleeding enemies. Attack damage consists of the whole damage, not only physical damage. Alright, sword damage and life leech. Blade of Cunning, increased physical damage with sword, attack speed with swords, increased life leech per second. One very important. Okay, then you can go to the bottom part here. Of course you're gonna go for iron reflexes, this linking point here, damage over time, skill duration, damage over time, increased damage over time, which will increase the poison damage and the bleeding damage, increased skill effect duration, once again you're gonna increase the both things, 25% chance to poison on hit against bleeding enemies, and you wanna get this one as well. Melee attacks have 8% chance to cause bleeding. Now, if you combine this 25% chance to poison on hit against bleeding enemies, you might think, well, that's enough, you don't need poison, support gem. Well, you need poison for two reasons. One, you can just ignore the fact that you have to pray that you're gonna poison enemies. Second, it will increase damage with poison in one gem. So it's, in my opinion at least, you have to get it. Then some more life and of course dexterity for the benefit it gives. Two-handed, both of it, Wrecking Ball for the attack speed and damage, and Executioner for the stun duration. It's, yeah, okay. And the hits deal 20% increased damage against enemies that are on low life. Low life is 35% damage or less. Now with all this setup you can understand how much damage you do more, how much more damage you do, sorry, to bleeding enemies, and considering the fact that they are on low life, even more. Then unfortunately you have to get this 30 intelligence because of the requirement from the gems. Life, some armor with a 4% all elemental resistance and 4% additional physical damage reduction. Then you wanna get Unwavering Stance because at least me personally, I bloody hate stuns. I just can't stand stuns. It's like the bane of my existence, stuns. So I want to get this one. Once you are here and you got 3 more points, you're gonna get for Life Leech, and Life Leech. This 40% Life Leech per second will be absolutely visible when you play higher maps and you're gonna face harder enemies. I can almost face tank Argus on Merciless. You're gonna go up here north, increase physical damage, accuracy, and 5% maximum life. This is not the best in the world, but it's still something. And then of course the whole life cluster here. Well, that should be done. You can opt for more attack speed, but I would go for defenses actually, because if you're dead you deal 0 damage. Let's go to the Ascendancy then.
Ascendancy.
Alright, of course you want to choose the Gladiator one for a lot of reason. First one, for the gratuitous violence. Attacks have 25% chance to cause bleeding. 30% increased damage against bleeding enemies. Once again, 30% increased damage against bleeding enemies. Then you go here. 25% increased attack damage against bleeding enemies. Down here, where is it? 20% increased damage against enemies that are on low life. So, plus the 50% increased damage against bleeding enemies from the sword. You can understand that this tooltip here that says 10,000 damage, it is not accurate at all. Then, bleeding enemies you kill explode, dealing 10% of their maximum life as physical damage. That physical damage scales. Therefore, when you kill one in a pack, you're gonna almost always kill everyone in the pack. One-handed speed and physical damage, of course. Attacks have 25% chance to cause bleeding, 6% reduce damage taken against bleeding enemies, 30% chance for attacks to maim on hit against bleeding enemies. Maim have 30% reduced moving and speed. And increased damage against bleeding enemies. Again, a 30% increase damage against bleeding enemies. That maim, it's very important for 2 reasons. 1, they're gonna take longer to come to you. 2, they're gonna take longer to come to you and therefore they're gonna bleed more before they can actually damage you. Now, well, of course, 100 speed and damage. That does nothing. But this is the important thing here, that we have to take some things into consideration. 25% chance to gain a frenzy charge on kill with main hand. The two-handed sword is considered main hand. 25% chance to gain another chance on kill with offhand. You're never gonna get that. 10% more physical damage. Remember, this is more physical damage, while at maximum frenzy charges. Now, let me explain you something. If you attack and hit someone with your main hand, and then he dies by damage over time, that is not considered a kill with the main hand. That is important to notice. So you can swing once, poison an entire pack of 25 enemies, they die, they explode, they kill 30 enemies. You will not get a single frenzy charge. You have to hit and kill with the weapon. So you're not gonna get as many frenzy charges as you would like with this one, but you can still get to maximum pretty quickly. 10% reduced physical damage taken while at maximum frenzy. While the maximum energy recharges. And you are gonna tell me what the you're gonna do with that? It's useless. Not exactly, because you have 3 maximum frenzy charges. If you put a fragility, which is a unique jewel that reduces your endurance charges by 1. If you put 3 of them, one here, and you can get this socket here or somewhere else, which I don't remember where. Well, if you want more melee physical damage, you can get this one if you want to. If you get these 3 fragility, you will be constantly at the maximum endurance charges. So you're gonna have permanently 10% reduced physical damage taken, which is nice, I'd say. If you ask me, you're gonna have a permanent 10% reduced physical damage taken. Now, I prefer my 12% increased maximum life and the physical damage that comes from these 2 jewels here. But these are choices. You can just choose to have a permanent 10% reduced physical damage taken. Now, of course, it's physical damage taken, so it will not affect elemental damage. Alright, I think I uncovered the Ascendancy properly, I hope. And let's move on.
Pros.
Well, it's fun to play. It's quite tanky. You enjoy seeing things explode around you. You have to play a little bit careful when you're facing elemental damage hitters or chaos damage hitters. Other than that, it's very good against any kind of enemies, actually.
Cons.
Well, the main problem is that you have to remain still stand still while attacking, therefore you're subject to damage. Also, your resolute technique, how it's called, unwavering stance, will not allow you to dodge any attacks. You can only mitigate them with your armor. Therefore, you are subject to taking damage, and you have to rely on your life leech. Therefore, you can't just run away too much unless you want to avoid massive strikes. And you have to just constantly attack to
Bandits.
Oak, Cretin.
Skill in action.
Dracunia, you never do red maps. Oh well, let's try this Savage Crate Westland map. Never played this map before, I'm gonna be honest. So patches of a shocking round. Oh, shocking. Monster movement speed, attack speed, cast speed, holy shit. Reflect 80% elemental resistance, 80% fire resistance. I'm probably gonna fail too, but hey, just for fun. My current XP is inside the level is very low, so I'm not gonna say my builds are not perfect. I'm not
stripped of its fertile
super rare
life spirals towards its end.
items and uniques. Well, basically the whole bloody thing is on freaking shocked. There's no space for non-shocked ground here. Anyway, let's, as always, I do the perimeter. I hope the boss here is not that freaking archer that one-shots you. Alright. On shocking ground, so I'm gonna take 50% more damage. Almost consistently, because it's covering almost the entirety of the map. But I'm still dealing a considerable amount of damage, and the explosion effect is helping me a lot, as it will negate most of the death rattles and helps clearing huge packs of monsters thanks to the, well, the very effect, the very explosion effect. Superior, 9%. So far so good, nothing too difficult. Thanks to the custom damage taken, you see that immortal call will allow you to be, I'm not gonna say constantly immune, of course, because it's only a third of a second, but that third of a second will probably save your butt in multiple occasions. So instead of calling it desert, they call it wasteland. Oh well. Now let's see my at full frenzy charges. My damage says 16,700, but it's not real because there are a lot of let's call it hidden damage. It doesn't take into account that I deal more damage against bleeding enemies. Well, it doesn't take into account a lot of things. So that is not actually properly the correct amount of damage I deal. Also dealing more damage, I mean increased damage against bleeding enemies thanks to the sword as well, not only to the passive skill tree. So yeah, it doesn't take into consideration a bloody lot of things. Well, those were tough actually. What is tier, what, 11 I think? Yeah. No, wait, 12? No, 11. I think it's 11. And die. It is not the fastest clearing speed as you can see, but it's decent I think. It's not like the other build of the week, the chaos reaction, that had to put down a withering totem to kill whitebacks. But anyway, I'm not gonna criticize them. Well, actually I am. But anyway, let's keep going. Ooh, six socket. Okay, this part is clear. You have to understand that I have almost no sense of orienteering whatsoever. So my M key, it's the middle mouse button, is consumed. Really like consumed. Okay. More damage. Didn't take it too hard at hit. I take less damage against bleeding enemies as well, as I already told you probably. Okay, here is a chance to see how well Blender McCoy does against a red map. Oh, good. A red map Essence guy. 1, 2 and 3. And annihilated. Okay, let's move on. Yeah, probably I'm gonna struggle against the boss, but I've never faced him. I really hope it's not the archer, the one that uses a mirror arrow, because that is a piece of shit. His chaos damage arrows will really mess you up, and I'm standing on shocking ground. So, there he is. Woo! Oh no, it's you fucking cunt. It's its arrow. Ah, shocking ground! Come on, face me. And die. Wow, museum map. Alright, it's still something. Alright, let's clear up the rest of the map, just for fun. Well, a tier 11, almost on shocking ground. Izaro did... no, it wasn't Izaro, it was... sorry. I forgot his name. Oh, god damn it, the one in the... Oh no, wait, I finished the map, one more remaining. The one in the Oh my god, what's it called? The one in the Dry Lake. Screw it. Alright. That's it. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to improve yourself.